Fantasy Mapping Show, episode 13. I'm J.K.
Mhm.
Gosumba, and we got with us the legendary mappers Anna Meyer and Alyssa Faden. Good evening to both of you. Let's start with a little mini announcement, and I didn't mean that as a double entendre, Anna. Sorry about that. But
No, it's okay. We
yeah,
need to address the fact that longtime viewers of Lord Gosumba remembers that I've always had my little sidekick here, Minnie, and she was 20 years old, so we had to put her down a couple of days ago. So yeah. So unfortunately, that was her time. But she was an old doggy, and so it didn't come as a surprise to me or any of us here. So we kind of, yeah, but it was, so now she's in a happy hunting ground, so to speak, and she will be remembered. And thanks to her appearance on Lord Gazumba channel, I have now hours of video I can go back to and watch her if I want
yeah.
to. So that was something positive with it too. So thank you everyone who cheered for her and always asked if she's around and stuff like that. So she's no longer. So we'll see if there will be an annoying cat or something else coming in the future. We'll see.
An annoying cat. That's funny the way you said
Yeah.
that.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, I know. I
yeah,
used to have cats, and I know how annoying they can be, and they want to sit on the keyboard and stuff like that. So, yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
I have one right next to me right here.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yep.
and yeah, he
Yep.
loves to flip over and
Mm-hmm.
put his ass on the keyboard.
Yep.
That's
I'm
cool.
sorry, Anna, truly.
Thank you. Yep. Yep.
Sometimes they just
yep.
cats
Mm-hmm.
get into what you know what? Look at this. Oh wow, I don't have my light on. That's why I'm darker. So,
Mm-hmm.
all right, tonight's topic. Why doesn't this on?
Okay, bye, Jay.
Yeah, well, here it should come on in a second. Here, tonight's topic is surprising because there we go. The Fantasy Mapping Show is meant to be a mapping show, not a Greyhawk show.
Yeah,
But
exactly. But we have to make an exception sometimes.
Yes.
And now I think it's such a good, and it's Alyssa that is the reason for this time, because she had decided to take the big plunge and start mapping Greyhawk. And I thought that, damn, she has so many cool Greyhawk related things to show. So then, of course, we make a show about Greyhawk mapping, because both Alyssa and me have cool stuff to show that are Greyhawk related. So that's, and also we had a guest that I was hoping to come on that we couldn't get.
Or Nonson?
Exactly.
He's DMing, so you can't have him cancel a DMing game. Always have that game 1st. So Fantasy Grounds Academy had the question regards terrain features, floodplains, the techniques to create evidence of ancient flooding like mega floods or tsunami conditions. Well, that's interesting.
That's interesting. Let's say that first bit again.
It's about floodplains, the techniques to recreate evidence of ancient flooding, like mega floods or tsunami, kind of like Eastern Washington State.
Yeah,
right?
This is cool, and it depends. And now I guess you can answer this two ways depending on your technique. First, if you're using like traditional painting stuff, then I suggest you watch. There are some interesting TV shows that exemplifies this. I forgot the name now. I saw some BBC and I think there's a couple of other channels where show you can probably find
Nova
YouTube videos that talk about this phenomena and has plenty of video evidence and stuff like that. They show these animations and they talk about the topic. So Google the topic and search on YouTube to find it, and then you look and start thinking, what should my area look like, so to speak, and then you draw it on Photoshop using a lot of that as reference, so to speak. That's if you're like a 2D kind of artist that draw your map by hand, so to speak. But then you have the more tricky and interesting, if you, like me, you base a lot of your maps on 3D terrain, where you actually build like a 3D virtual landscape. Then it becomes both trickier, but also cooler in a way, because then you can actually use real science behind it, so to speak. You can actually go in and build. And the tricky thing is that a lot of these tools like World Machine, Gaia and stuff, they have something called coastal erosion. And that is the erosion that water gives at a certain edge, where you have water pressure that pounds on rocks and stuff like that and grinds things down. What you can do is that you apply the general coastal erosion at whatever level an ancient ocean or big lake and coastline are. Then you create a secondary much stronger erosion on a certain part, so to speak, where you create a valley, and then you erode everything below it at a different level and much stronger, and you mask that off in that general area. That creates really, I've tested a couple of these effects. It works for things like lava flows. It works for these kind of, when you have like things that from a glacier and tsunami waves and stuff like that, things that are calamitous over the landscape, so to speak. So you can, and sometimes you can take multiple of these erosions one after the other and then apply a mask and only do it down one valley or something, for instance. So that's the how you can deal with it, because I don't think they don't have a tool built in just for this. So what you have to do is take the general tool of coastal erosion, apply it vigorously, but in one area by masking it, so to speak. That's the trick to get to it.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Quick question there, which is great. So
yep.
Here's thanks for asking that question.
Yeah.
I got to ask this question, Alyssa. I know we were at GaryCon. Why? What was your thought process? You are opening yourself up to this community.
Yeah.
Well, I guess to give some context, because you just said GaryCon. Why?
Right. Right.
And certainly GaryCon, yes. There's a story there. But no, to give some context, I'm now drawing Greyhawk City maps, and perhaps, Jay, you could bring up one of the colored maps so people have context for the type of work that I do. This is the type of, I'm well known for my fantasy city maps. That's my forte, if you were. And I like to think that I come up with a pretty good result at the end of the day.
They are fantastic. They are spectacular.
Thank you. I've done quite a few of them. I love doing them. There's a certain amount of insanity involved with hand drawing every single individual little building, and I love it. Mm-hmm. And I was asked at GaryCon by Greyhawk Online if I would consider drawing Greyhawk maps for them. Now, my proviso was yes, as long as I can then give those maps to my patrons on Patreon, and they've agreed. So this is something that I'm going to get to be able to share with folks. I didn't want to. I didn't want to get involved in Greyhawk. I did the city of Catalel, like some time ago for Jeff D. And there's a whole bunch of lore that comes with that canon, you know, to the point where there's scenarios. So you have to make sure that the temple matches the floor plan of the scenario from 20 years ago. And that's a lot of reading, like Anna knows, because that's what she does. And that intimidates me. I don't have the time. I can't go like up against all of you guys and girls. You know Greyhawk way better than I do. What business have I got drawing anything in Greyhawk? I can't do it. I'm going to get it wrong. Except Greyhawk Online basically said that we're going to pick the cities that are less well known, the towns and the cities where there is nothing. There isn't an adventure. There is no lore. Maybe there's a little bit, you know, a little bit of a little bit of a backstory, and I can tap Anna in to fill me in, which she did on the last show, if you were paying attention. And that's enough for me. I can get a little bit of guidance and support from you all. Hopefully some of my patrons even know a little bit about Greyhawk and then can advise me.
I'm one of your patrons. I know a little bit about Greyhawk.
You've seen it. Yeah. You've seen the things that I've been posting. Yeah, every time that I do a session, I post it to my Patreon, and I share it, and I invite feedback and so on and so forth. But so that's what I'm doing. I'm now in the world of Greyhawk, and every quarter I'm going to release a fully colored city map. Wow. I'm on board now. We're going to do it.
Yeah, and you kind of just ran with it on your own and without direction. You said, let's do Wamtham first, right? I mean, that was kind of like...
Kind of, sort of. So, you know, Greyhawk Online suggested Wamtham to me. And they gave me the very little bit that exists for Wamtham. And maybe you could even bring it up. It's basically, I think it's the regional map. There's two regional maps and an old scenario that was published like 20 years ago or something. It's like, draw Wamtham, this is what we know. Anna gave me way more information on the last show where she told me...
But that was the induced information from taking the general region and the bigger story, so to speak. Look at the bigger picture and then fill in the gap that creates. That was my technique that I used.
What I love about one of them is its wiki entry is just about 5 paragraphs long.
Yeah.
So that was an easy digest.
Yeah.
And it definitely echoed everything that you said on the last show too.
Yeah.
This is one that was shared with me recently, you know, because it just illustrates that there's 2 main roads coming through town and the cardinal directions of those roads. The fact that one of them sits on the east side of a river, and it sort of told me about the trade that goes on with that river. I could see from the regional map that the mountains are to the north, so my assumption is the river flow goes to the south.
Exactly, the flows
I've
to the south.
reflected that on the map I'm drawing, which I'm going to get to share with you all today. But yeah, this is what we're doing. One of them is going to be the first one. I'm hoping to have it. Oh, I would love to be done in a month's time. And then we'll go off into coloring on it.
Yeah, cool. Yep.
Yeah, and we're going to show
this
some
is not it, by the way. This is not one of them. This is way too big for one of them. This is from Alex Kammer. Alex Kammer runs Gamehole Con. This is his city of Trillium. He's also a very accomplished writer. He's got several scenarios out there. He had me do the city of Trillium for him, and this is it. And Trillium sort of basically for 3 islands in the center of it.
Yeah, this is really detailed, and I think it's pretty cool though how there's multiple small islands along this one. There's like, I see 6. There's 3 small ones, 3 large ones, right? It's pretty neat. It's now this is a homebrew setting.
This is a homebrew setting. I don't have the book, but yeah, it's definitely a homebrew setting because he gave me all of the lore and everything behind it. And I think there's a scenario or something based here. It's more of a campaign setting, I suppose.
Okay. Very cool. Excellent. So tie that in with, if you're figuring 4 maps a year, right? And then we have Anna and me working on another one, big one, along with all the other stuff that goes along with that. So we're there's a lot of content coming, right? There's a lot of new content coming for the community, and that's a really great thing. So Anna, your thoughts on what Alyssa's doing?
I think it's great, and it will really fill a niche in the Greyhawk community that I think it's really needed, so to speak, and also to concentrate on the slightly out of the limelight cities. I think it's a brilliant tactics to get into the community and show the talent and add to it without having to take the enormous burden of getting half a doctorate in Greyhawk lore, so to speak. It's really smart, and it's also the approach, but you don't necessarily have to stop there. Meaning, all you have to do is simply say a word. I want to map this city, and then leave it open, and we can kind of feed you information. But on the other hand, that means that there's a hell of a lot of information to take in no matter what. So I think it's the right approach, so to speak. If you just want to have fun, give to the community without having to spend 3 months or more time researching it than actually mapping it, so to speak. That's a really good, and meaning now, and rejoice all Greyhawk community members, meaning now we get a chance, we get probably what I think would be the best city mapper in the world, fantasy city mapper in the world, working for our community. It's amazing. So yeah, so welcome to the community, Alyssa.
Well, thank you. And I really, really, really appreciate that, Anna. And the warmth coming off you is palatable. And I want to do right by the Greyhawk community. I not only want to flex my city mapping muscles, but I want to give to the community. I want to be able to draw these locations, and kind of, it's a humbling experience, I must be honest. Because I feel like I'm going to create something that's going to be out there then. You know, in this instance, it's one of them, but there are going to be obviously plenty of others. And I've done similar before. I mentioned Catalel. You know, Gaxmore is a good example. Gaxmore has got some canon, it's got some lore, it's got a setting, it's a lot smaller. But it's humbling to then do your version of this city. You make your mark, and it's out there in history then. And that's how I'm approaching every single one of these. I want to create the Greyhawk towns and cities in a way where you fall in love with them, but you maybe, because we are doing those on the outside, you really get to see them for the first time. Yeah. And if you're going to get to know my work, all of you are going to get to know my work at a very detailed level. Because I I do stories in my towns, my streets, and my alleyways. I pull you into my city maps by having the players go, "Well, what's there?" I want the GM to go, "I don't know. Let's find out together." And my maps, I feel, have that magical quality of not just being a whole bunch of rectangles on a piece of paper. They have charm. They feel like someone lives there. And that's why Jay sort of got a couple of my examples up on the screen here. That's what I want. And I'm going to bring that to every single Greyhawk map. I wanted, I'll be honest with you, I wanted to actually go simpler. I wanted to draw simpler objects on the page so I could get these things crunched out. And then the minute I started drawing Wampum, I'm drawing little tiny stairs going up to a building. I'm in. I'm going all out.
And I need to say right now, so because I love that Alyssa's doing this, because what I can do if I want to, let's say I want to map Nyrond or the Wump, the larger area. I want to take the 100 square miles and that Wump happen to be inside, so to speak. What I will do is either ask Alyssa for if she has the buildings on a separate layer, or I will put her, and I will trace the buildings. So I will make sure that whatever Alyssa creates, it will be matched on my map of the area.
They will be on a separate layer, and I love this, Anna. Look, we're talking.
Exactly, because that way I can take her work and make sure that whatever I do in the larger area will exactly match Alyssa's work. So
this is a work of art that we're creating here. I will give you the PSDs, girl.
Because if I have that of coastlines and the outline of the buildings and stuff like that, I can make sure that everything I do will match that, so to speak, and get into it. And there will be examples, and we'll see a little bit of stuff that will come when we present both my project today and see how that can be done, so to speak. Because
why don't we go over to your project before we start get into the details? Maybe we kind of do this up here and down, and then I'll show everyone the progress that I've made on one of them.
Okay,
let's do a little project update on Altamira first, so to speak. So let's
1, 2, 3, or
exactly,
screenshots here.
Exactly.
Altamira 1.
Okay. Let's do Altamira 1. Yep. Okay. And so it's biome time, so to speak. So previous month we just saw the bare terrain with elevation and the bare rivers. Now we're starting to move in and figure out where do different types of terrain go, so to speak. Not when it comes to elevation, but where do forests go? What are grasslands? What are bare rock? What is going to be where gravel and mountains? A lot of rocks fall down in certain areas, and that means that maybe for a square mile down the range from the mountains, there's no forest or barely no grass. There's like big boulders and sand and stuff like that. So this is the raw, what I would call a raw splat map. This is the kind of map instead of using black and white masks, you simply stack the masks on top of each other because eventually there will only be one terrain. It's either forest or grass or rock, or it's not all of it combined. And that means that instead of having separate masks, you simply color each mask with a color, and there you have the city of Altamira. And this is, you have to remember, this is a raw fractal generated splat map. So what I will do is I will take this splat map, put it in Photoshop, and then sit and edit in the details, meaning we have the city of around Altamira, there are areas that need to be agriculture, for instance. And I might not want that much forest. There will be open fields in some areas, like grasslands where the cattle graze and stuff like that. So they've chopped down the trees. And then there are a lot of the blue river areas here. There will be marshlands, bogs, and stuff like that. So that needs to be separated from pure water to things that are half overgrown, like swamp forest and bogs and peat bogs and marshlands and stuff like that. So that needs to be separated. And that is a work that I've found most fun and most rewarding and gives the best quality if you do it by hand, because then you can put in meandering, you can do a lot of stuff that will look computer generated if you let the computer do it fully. So I like to use the raw image here and then tweak it and then import it back into World Machine or Gaia and then texture it, because that's the next step after this, is to texture it. There are still some elevation things that needs to be fixed, but I wanted to work a little bit in parallel, so to speak, because this is only low resolution. This is 4,000 pixels. The final result will be 16,300 pixels for this. So this is just a very low, it's a quarter resolution.
Right.
Not,
but it still looks like the Lort Mills are just, instead of the original Darlene map. I mean, the detail on this is so high. Do we know how high this elevation is up?
I'm aiming for something just under 10,000 feet.
How high above it are we? Space, right?
This will probably be 20, 30 miles up or something like that.
Okay.
It's hard to say, but it's a space, from space kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And as you can see here, here's the placement where it's going to go.
Yeah, there you have the flattened circle, and we still have to figure out. We have roughly the size, and we have to. I kind of upped it a little bit, so it's not dipped down; it's just shaved off. So the founders of Altamira, they kind of leveled off that mountaintop there, so to speak, and that little peak there. And to make
we kind of expanded it from 1 mile radius to 1.5, if I recall.
Yeah, something like that. We can tweak it a little bit back and forth there, and it's that thing is, thankfully, that's something we can still tweak a little bit. So this was an idea, and just to give Jay a better sense of what the final terrain will look like, and that way we can now go in and make sure that we get every terrain feature when it comes to elevation and stuff within 10 miles of Altamira, exactly the way we want it.
Please note there's no forests on here yet, or swamps or anything like that.
Exactly. The dark green there, if you zoom in, you see there's dark green. That is forest, the dark green. And then there are lighter green areas. Those will be grasslands of various kinds. And focus on the mountains and zoom in on the tall mountains and zoom down. You see that you have the gray, that's the rocky area, so to speak. And then you have lighter green, that's the kind of just grass meadows that are up on the coast. And then there's some really dark green here and there on high elevation. That's evergreen forest, like spruces, pines, and stuff like that grows up. It's evergreen forest. The other clear green, that is the deciduous normal forest, because we are talking about a fairly warm climate here. It's like almost Mediterranean-esque kind of climate. And that means that most of the trees down on the lower plains, like the sus forest and stuff, they are not pine trees and spruces and cold trees. They are trees that grow when it's nice and warm and cozy. So you can have everything from oak forest to all sorts of fantasy like Declo and cool greyhawk trees. But up in the mountains, there are pockets of evergreen forest, and up to the west there is some bit. Don't look at them because they are kind of outside of the scope. There's some things that went haywire there, but they're out of the scope.
Now I want to go over there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. But that is what happens when you. Meaning, when you get to the edges of 3D terrain creation tools, everything goes haywire. So you always have to do bigger than what you need and then cut off the edges, because when you have an artificial edge, all fractals get wonky at the edge where they're cut off, so to speak.
Can I ask a question, Anna?
Yeah.
And Jay, can you pan to the east a little bit? That wonderful sort of water arrangement there. Does that match the Darlene map? Did she draw something like that, and therefore you crafted the terrain?
Exactly. No, she actually just drew the Jewel River straight like that.
So it's handmade in the Jewel, right, at this area?
No, that's further south. This is where there's temples and old forgotten soul stuff and so on from the Gord books and stuff.
Right, and the Twilight Forest and air.
Yeah, exactly.
And the crossover worlds. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So those details are not from the Darlene map because they're not depicted on the Darlene, but I think
it's a really, so this has that magical quality of having me go, what's there? And I know you haven't even finished with this map yet.
No, it's very, very basic still.
But it's like, I already know I want to adventure there. I want to go and explore there.
Wait, great point, Alyssa. We have just been talking with Stephen Chenault on what because they're going to put this out early. because like they did for the rehashes of the player's handbook, the ode to from the original player's handbook and Dungeon Master's Guide artwork. Where do you see the artwork we're going to have for the Free City of Altamira box set? And we put that out. And you'll be like, I want to explore this even more. We're not just going to have a city scene. It's going to be really cool.
That's cool.
Yeah. And so it's getting exciting now. It really is. What I love about this, my personal thing is we don't have this on the Darlene map because the technology was there, but the erosion lines of the river going downward, I mean, that is really neat, along these ridges
and there's
here.
even a couple of waterfalls that are generated.
Yes.
Go to the city of Altamira and then look at the river that goes east of it, that flows north into the jewel, and then follow that into the
one?
That one. No. That one, it looks like a lake here because it's so wide.
This one here.
No.
Where?
On the east of Altamira, there's a river flow from the south.
Yeah, this one, and it flows this way. It flows north, actually.
Flows north into the jewel.
All right.
Go north and almost down to the jewel. You can see there is a waterfall.
Right there.
Yeah, there you go. That's a waterfall.
There's a waterfall right there.
Yeah, there's a waterfall.
That is awesome.
And that is generated, so that will have some white little cresses on the water and stuff like that. So that is a waterfall that really has been generated into it. So there's like an elevation change there. So yeah, which means that you can't go up with small boats or big boats or any boats really. So but it's still a kind of a cool location because you can view the vistas from Altamira. If you were standing on the city walls of Altamira, those vistas will be gorgeous. The sunrises from over the forest and stuff over there, and with the mountains in the background, it will be fantastic. So we'll see when we get the final terrain, really high resolution. We can see if we can make some landscape shots or from Altamira and show Altamira with the mountains in the background, like Vancouver or something like that. Will be kind of cool to see. So that's a project. Once we have all of this done, then I'll try and do a project of doing Altamira landscape shots. So that's a coming project after, and maybe we can, if there will be a stretch goal high enough or something, a follow up, then we can see, because I need a beefier computer to do that. But once I have that, then
we'll definitely have an Alyssa stretch goal.
Yeah, so we'll have something. But this is the state that the project is in now. So it's getting the biome to know where forests go, where grasslands go, where rocks go, etc. And then there's a couple of terrain tweaks done, so to speak. Then I will render the elevation map and the splat map, the computer generated splat map, is in full resolution, and then I'll sit down there you see it in 3D, so to speak. So I took some screenshots, so you see the city of Altamira in 3D. There you can see the waterfall there too. You can probably see it better in 3D.
It goes to it should be down here. It's just off the map.
No. You have there you go. That's
right here.
Waterfall. No, not there.
Right here.
You had the mouse. That's the Jewel River.
Right.
And then
here it is. Right here.
Yeah, there you go. Yep.
Oh, okay.
There you go. Yep.
Right
there's
there.
There's the waterfall.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's cool.
And you see those little dots there are where there will be trees and there will be grasslands and stuff like that. And because the terrain that I generate here has a roughness. So some areas are very rough, meaning boulder fields and stuff like that. Some of them are very smooth. And if they are like very smooth, they will probably, and flat, and wet, because terrain also has a wetness degree. So if they're wet, flat, and smooth, they will be forested. If they're rough enough or dry enough and stuff like that, then they will be slightly rough. Then there will be more grasslands, boulders with grass and stuff in between. If they're dry, there will be grasslands. If they're rough and then enormously rough, they're just boulder fields and stuff. So those are things that you code into the when you generate this.
So, this is the initial things are moving forward, which is good. I'm going to get some writing done while I'm sitting there at the pool coming up next week. Have some fun. We'll get some more stuff done, but things are moving along really well with that. So, this is just one city though, right? There's going to be a lot more coming.
Yeah.
And I know, Alyssa, you're not a fan of this. I have this up here. So as we jump back to Wampham here, I mean, you're like, any what's the word? Any inspiration at all from this, or like I'm starting over?
Canadian Nature Gamer, thank you for giving me a sub, by the way. That's very
Yeah,
much appreciated.
Patrick.
So this I'm not going to belittle anyone's work. This is the only map of Wamptham that I know that exists. I would normally take previous maps with a high degree of let's say respect from the point of view of it's now canon, but this one kind of isn't. This one's kind of just almost an interpretation of Wamptham. I also disagree with a few things that this has done. It doesn't feel like a population of about 20,000 people to me. It's just a bunch of boxes. I don't like the way that the city walls have evolved. I don't like the way the piers are structured. And honestly, I kind of don't like the shape of the city itself. I am going to pay homage to this, and I'm going to make my old Wamptham, and I'm going to show you guys and girls this later on. I'm going to make my old Wamptham be this shape, and so kind of like give you a little bit of a kiss out to the guy that did this. So at least his has been, but I'm kind of viewing this Wamptham, this version of Wamptham, as an older city. You know, the previous one. But my version kind of is a little bit more organic in that it started with a keep, and the keep became a slightly larger town. The town grew into a city, and you will see that growth in my map. I'm going to show you all the evolution of it here shortly. But this one, I think we have to at least doff our cap to it and say, this exists. I can't completely ignore it. That would be rude. I'll get elements of it in mind, and then I don't know, I'm not sure there's much here that to be picked up on, but I might take some of those, let's say those blue buildings, maybe they're temples or something, I don't know, and maybe have them on my map, same shape, same size. But then everything else has been kind of rebuilt over time. So we'll have elements of this.
Okay. But, and also we have to acknowledge that I really like that approach, Alyssa, but we also have to acknowledge that take some of the kind of most iconic city maps from Greyhawk from Istus, Fate of Istus, meaning Wamptham, this map would have got
leaps and
it's
bounds.
much better than most of the city mapping that has been done in published Greyhawk products. But we also have to realize those Greyhawk products were old. They were from the 80s, 90s, and so on. So they didn't have the resources to make really cool city maps for a lot of these projects. And some of them, like Fate of Istus, probably would run more on a shoestring budget, because generally the art budget, it was black and white print. The art budget was not much at all. So we have to realize both the time they were made in and under the conditions that were made in. But when it comes to city design and stuff, this is even better than Fate of Istus type maps. But we can assure that Alyssa, and I love that treatment of it, and you will come up with something that was, I already know it because I've seen a lot of it.
You've seen them, right?
It's 100 times better, in my opinion.
Well, and I think everything should be an evolutionary step, right? From our own artistic learnings, from the tools that we now have. I don't want to throw out the baby with the bathwater. I want to build upon it, and I'll do something similar to this here.
Yeah, and I also think that a lot of it is the thinking that goes on beyond it. A lot of people just think about, oh, I want to use this pen in Photoshop and stuff, but a lot of the key, and that's, I think, something we need to emphasize, and we will emphasize in this show, is that it's technique can only get you that far, so to speak. You need to start thinking geographically. You need to start thinking from a landscape perspective and from a city, meaning demographics. You need to think about politics, technology, and stuff like that. There's a lot of practical other stuff that you need to think about. So cartography is way more than simple illustration. And even if you are a master illustrator, that doesn't only get you that far in cartography. And you need cartography. It's its own thing. That illustration is one part of cartography, and in some ways it's my weakest part. I'm working really hard to catch up on illustrators and so on, and I'm getting there, but I acknowledge that's my weak spot, so to speak. There are other cartographers that it's their strong suit, meaning they know they've gone to art school and stuff like that, and You can take Mike Schley, you can take Francesca Barold, and a whole bunch of others that are really famous in fantasy cartography. They are way better illustrators than I probably
ever will be. You didn't go to Juilliard, Anna?
No, I didn't. But that's only one part of cartography.
Absolutely.
And the other part is to understand the concept of maps and the role they play and stuff. And that is
I know where that is, and you know this because you've said this before, the concept of people, the concept of what they do, where they go, how they get there. And that was actually one of my recent videos. I recorded it yesterday. It's going to be coming out to my patrons probably this weekend. I started talking about the path of roads. Where would they go? Why? Where I'm placing them. And I think it's all part of it. You and I, Anna, operate on the two different spectrums.
Yeah.
You're very much on the world regional
exactly.
sort of level.
I started from the large picture and then move in, and you started from the small picture and move out, so to speak.
Exactly, exactly. So I'm talking about roads, paths. I'm drawing little, staircases coming off a bridge because I'm thinking about the people needing to get from A to B. And I think that's why I don't like cities where it's just a whole bunch of rectangles thrown into a random shape, because it's like I can't picture people living here. I need to be able to picture that.
Yeah. You have.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No. I was just gonna let me go back to that. I mean, and this is an prime example. Another one right here of Alyssa. There's no real square buildings in here at all. Right?
No, exactly right. So there's a lot of thought that's gone into where the bridges are at, where the main roads are at, the growth of the city itself, and the building locations as a result of traffic, and what's high class, what's low class, and so on and so forth.
Okay.
Yep.
So
this is not going to look like Wantham at all, but it's similar in that at least it's on a water edge, and I think from a colouring perspective, it's going to be similar. I can imagine Wantham having a similar sort of visual feel to it when it's done. It's this map.
Yeah. That coastline is fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah. So you have multiple docks, and as you got one dock here that's damaged, which is kind of cool too. So you also can see with the what do you call it, currents. I'm assuming the lines are current running through, which is neat.
Yeah. Yep. Now I need to know a technical question, meaning how many pixels per 5 feet do you have, so to speak?
I don't work that way.
I'm thinking if you would turn this into VTT, roughly how many pixels per 5 foot square would it be? Would you guess?
I don't know. I don't know whether I could answer that here and now. I'd have to sort of
how about
look at one of my maps and sort of compare them.
A rough question: what's the large width of this city? 2 miles across?
No, this is a small one. This is way small. This is more like your 2,500, 3,000 feet across type of city.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at this, and by the way, Anna and I operate, and I love Anna so much because she and I really approach mapping from the two different sides, and we really do meet in the middle. A lot of times I will draw a city without ever knowing the scale, and I know that's sacrilege. But I tend to work in terms of building size. I know what size building to draw, and where the end result invokes this sense of city population. So if you zoom out on this and you look at this place, you're going to go, well, maybe 10, 15,000 people tops. That's the way I work. And I have worked the other way where I'll go, this is my scale. Therefore, this is the size of a small building. This is the size of a larger one. And I did that on Light Harbor, which I did for Noble Dwarf, where it was dialed in to the foot. But a lot of the time, I work off kind of gut instinct for what looks right.
And you're really smart, because since I do the opposite, I also realized that the damn problems with it, so to speak, you run into, and that is the problem of once, and I did that when there is a little a picture of Aldit in my notes for here. So see if you can find there. I think there is it.
You want me to go to Aldit?
Yeah, go to Aldit
Yeah,
and show it. Yeah, you have an Aldit image
do you
there,
want
I think.
stretch with sketch or without?
No, take without. And there you go. So there is, and zoom in on that one. So here is my map, and that is one. This is first I do the overall map that is my porta potty scale, meaning 1 pixel is 5 feet, and then I draw just meaning the city walls will be one little gray line and stuff like that. There will be no detail, so to speak. And then that means that, but then I locked in the size. So I know that the city is 555 feet across or something like that, whatever. And so then I have the problem. There's only this much space within the city walls. And those little 9 pixels are the keep, so to speak, or something. So I know that the keep is like 3 5 feet squares, or like 6 5 feet squares across. So that's the problem. Then I need to start thinking, if I want to put this on a VTT or a battle map, I need to figure out how many squares it is, and that takes a lot of thoughtful design. And what I did from my big map, I mean, I'm going to show you that. Going to give you the link to the whole big map. What I did was that I exported a picture from an area from there, blew it up 10 times. So instead of 1 pixel per 5 feet, the scale is now 10 pixels per 5 feet, which works really well or fairly well in VTTs. So you can actually take the map. So
is that the screenshot? Is that screenshot
no,
one?
Okay. Oh yeah, but take the one with Aldit with sketch.
Okay.
And then move in.
That's Aldit with sketch.
Yeah, and then zoom in.
Oh, now you've lined it. Ah, okay. You've lined. You started lining the buildings.
Yeah,
I got
so
it.
now I
Now you
lined
can
out
clear
the
them.
buildings. Yeah, so they're clear. So the buildings can be seen individual. So this is not anywhere near Alyssa Faden quality of settlement, but this map of Aldit took me 10 minutes to do from my big map. So when I had my big map done, I can take any settlement, and you can too, with very limited knowledge of Photoshop or GIMP or something. You can export out from the big map, and you can get this quality in a couple of minutes. And this you can import. Now show the screenshot from the screenshot one from inside virtual from Fantasy Grounds. So you can take this into Fantasy Grounds, and then you can run here, and you zoom in a little bit. That's the image in the city in a little town in Fantasy Grounds. You see, it's a bit blurry when you really zoom in, but you get the picture.
What's the square? 1 square is 5 feet.
Yeah, 1 square is 5 feet, and you can see that. Yeah, so you can see, and that's taken straight from my big map, so to speak. And then go to the next screenshot, and I put some tokens and stuff in, so you can see. Here you can zoom in. There's some little tokens and stuff, so people can see. There you go. So yeah. So you can see that I put some orcs and some hobgoblins, and there are some town guards up on the keep and stuff like that. So, and then there's one extra where you can actually see the distance. So
this one.
There you go. Yeah, so you can actually see the distance.
You've also, this one's lined too. Yeah.
Yeah, and the cool thing is this distance measure up perfectly to the world distance that I use for georeferencing. These maps are accurate. That if they were real world maps, you could actually build after them, so to speak. They're accurate down to 5 feet. So that's the cool thing. So you can, they are actually accurate. They're accurate both directions and elevation.
So I have no wiggle room for error, because Altamira is going to be accurate to 5 foot squares.
Exactly. Yes, it will be placed in Greyhawk at its exact georeference location in every. Yeah, so meaning you can, and that's what I'm going to say. That there's cool things possible with this, but the problem comes if you are a storyteller DM or an author, and you say, I want a forest there, or I want a little valley where the heroes can run and hide in. If that's not on my map, there is a problem, so to speak. So there's draw positives and negatives depending on your play style, and meaning I love a play style where I have a detailed canvas to look at and to inspire me and guide me in my games. Some DMs and storytellers don't like that. If they want to improvise a forest by meaning I need one right now, there should be one, or a river, or a creek, or whatever they need, so to speak. And some DMs are that way. So I totally get it that for some styles of play, my type of map is not what you need. But for others, it's exactly what you need. So it is
for outdoor settings. I mean, it's
yeah. And some DMs skip the outdoors because they either not interested in it or they don't have the tools for it. And I hope to provide the tools for this. And now I'm going to give you a link here. I'm going to post it in here. So, and this is something that I posted to my top tier patrons today, but now you're all going to see it. Yep. So, and it will be available for everybody to download. This is a concept map. It's an easy zoom link where it's a concept map of a 15 by 15 mile area of Greyhawk in southern Shieldlands. And it's a map that shows
your campaign area.
My campaign area. I started doing it so I could do all the errors and wrong in my own campaign before I do it for public use, so to speak. And so it's also I've sprinkled in some stuff that are not on my campaign and stuff yet. I'll see and name them just because I needed them, and there's some that I forgot to add or haven't added yet. But it's more like a concept style. So show what a future next generation Greyhawk maps from me could look like. So and then it will be up to my patrons and others to criticize this and scrutinize and say, oh, why the heck did you do it this way? Why didn't you do that, etc., and so on and so forth. So look really at that, and you can find all that the one we just looked at. You can find it on the map there, and you can zoom in and see what it looks like, and you can find it where it is.
And all that is not published source, all that's yours, correct?
It's my and it was actually, I don't think I made it onto the 576 map, but it will be on the 598 map, and there will be written up stuff about it and stuff. So it's my little Altamira, tiny little Altamira. Yeah, I usually invent one or couple of places for each of my campaign to have as a kind of a center or a starting point and stuff, and I want some details.
It's very cool.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Wondering Endlessly. So yeah, so that is the and there's a whole bunch of stuff on it. So and this has the porta potty scales. This one map is 5 feet per 1 pixel per 5 feet.
But see, there's nothing wrong with that because I have outhouses all over my table. The outhouse miniature, so it's a porta potty scale. It's fine.
But it's someone told me, 5 feet. That's like the size of a porta potty, and I thought, okay, that's brilliant. So I can't use porta potty officially because it's a trademark of a company that makes really good outhouses. Oh yeah, I think they porta potty. I think they trademark porta potty, so I can't call it that. But I can informally say it is a porta potty scale. So yeah.
Very cool.
So it's the and there are some city design, so to speak, in there too. So if you go on the eastern side up, there is the river that I call Senstin River.
Anna, do you want me to try this? You want me to try to do this?
Oh yeah, I gave you the big JPEG, or you can use the.
Oh,
okay, perfect.
Yeah, let's
awesome.
Let's do it this way.
No, hang on a second. I can show it my.
Just for the time being, just so
definitely.
Real quick.
So hang on a second.
I don't have it in my folder.
Yep. So we do it this way. So yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
So here we go. So let's zoom out. We have the whole map here.
That's better.
So this is 15 by 15 miles, and the reason I did this is more technical limitations. That's the area I can do in one go in World Machine with my current computer hardware.
And that's the same that Altamira is going to be.
Yes, exactly. The Altamira map will be this size.
15 by 15 miles.
And when you look at this, remember, this is 1/4 of a Darlene hex. So yeah. So I can put my little picture so you can see me too. So this is 1/4 of a Darlene hex, 225 square miles of terrain. So when you start thinking a 30-mile Darlene hex is big, it is enormous. A lot of people have not realized that, and there are thousands of hexes on Darlene hexes on the Darlene map.
Real quick, put that in perspective in an area of Verbalbank where there's so much. Sorry for saying this. So much shit on the map. Okay, there's so many. There's still huge swaths of open area.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Even in the Volberbach area on the
Yep.
map, on
Oh yeah,
map. Yeah.
definitely. So so remember this, that this is 1/4. The whole thing you look at when you look at this, and I hope it opens for you guys too. So
Yeah.
yeah, so here we have one that there's a couple of towns on this one. So here's one, Dellard, a large town that is one of my kind of town designs here that is in the inlets, and I had to tweak and work with the design, because the living greyhawk had made a river estuary running out into the Nirdiv here, and then they made the major port town that was actually, they made it east of it, so Axport. So then I had to figure out, why weren't they building Axport here at the mouth of the river? So what I made was that the river had a complex kind of delta-ish with a lot of silt and sand buildup and stuff. So it was not really suitable. And you also have a peninsula sticking out here. So there's no real good port facility here. That's why they used a little bay that was further down the coast for the port for the biggest ships coming from Nirdiv. So this Dellard was kind of left over. So Dellard's role is, there is a major road going east and west north of the Nirdiv that was founded especially in early age, when the Erdi needed to go from east to west, when they went from to the kingdom of Ferron and stuff like that.
I'm switching to the blowout map you gave me of it.
Okay, perfect. There you go. Yep.
To show that road a lot better.
I'll
just for the time being
switch back here.
So as you can see that road, and you can see.
Yep.
So and
so there you so the town of Dellard became a stopover along that road in order to guard the bridges and stuff. But it also a little fishing town, so you can do some river traffic, and you can fish in both Nirdiv and on the river and stuff. So those are the two major reasons. So it's both a traveling pass through town, and it also has some fishing and stuff. So it's a communication and fishing hub, so to speak. That's why you have the heraldry. And also I have to did you take the terrain only? Yeah, you have the terrain only version. I gave you both the terrain and
label
the one with the
placements. The other one, let me do that one.
So yeah, do the one with labels on it, because that was one of the challenges. Once you move in this much, you don't want to put a town symbol on top of the town itself, because you want to see that's more interesting than the terrain around it. So I decided to put a town symbol in front of the name, and also borders and stuff feels a bit superfluous, or kind of, they're a bit troublesome. So instead of showing, because the borders are not that accurate, so instead every settlement or important political feature of some sort has an allegiance. Everything that has an allegiance to somewhere has a heraldry to prove it, where they belong, so to speak. And so there's the heraldry of Dellard, because it's
and I can ask you a question.
Yeah.
Are you ever going to draw this city in a more detailed level?
Yes, that's the plan, and I'm going to do what I did with Alden. I'm going to go it from 1 pixel per 5 feet to 10 pixels per 5 feet. And
because if you weren't, I would love to draw this city.
If you would,
like, you give me this city and the dimensions and its shape, like
definitely
this.
Yes,
and then I go nuts and I go down.
I would love if you would do it. That would be fantastic.
Level,
Yeah, because I can provide, even this map has several little cool places. That's the biggest place on this map, so to speak. And then we can go down the southwest corner of the map. There is another small town down there called Port Fuderin in Fuderin.
Right here?
No, it's southwest end of the whole map.
This?
Nope. Now you just in one tiny little bit. Zoom out to the whole map and then go. Oh, you only have that big picture.
Yeah.
Open the big.
But I don't have that one on my. Remember.
Hang on a second. Then switch to me share. Yep.
Yep. Let me switch to scene 13.
There we go. So yeah. So I'm going to zoom out here, and here we have the big map again. So we had Dellard up here, and then we can go along the whole coast.
Because Dellard's published source, correct, Anna?
No, it's not. It's my invention.
Okay.
Yep. I just felt that something should be there.
Okay.
And here is another one that is my invention, and I'm going to.
That's on the near div, correct?
Yep, it's on the near div. So here is another of my little invention. Here is a small town that is basically just a fishing village that grew a little bit bigger, and because it became a hub of locals around the area, so to speak. And they had good. There's two reasons. They have good fishing and access to the big lake, and they also have a little natural harbor, and they have a tiny little river going in. But they have another access that is, I think, vital for the economy here. They have good sharecropper facilities. They have lots of open grassland next to it where you can have your sheep, cows, and other things go on grazing, and you have plenty of sandy beaches, which means that you can go there and collect things like bird eggs and all sorts of resources and stuff. So there is plenty of resource good, and you even have some trees and forest here, so you can use for building materials. So it's but the thing is that they don't have the throughput. The big road goes further north to Critwall, so that's why they don't lack. Otherwise, it might have been a bigger town, but they lack the strategic. It's a local little place, but it lacks the overall thing. So it's mostly for locals, and it might be a stopover for occasional people that go on the near div, but there's not much, so to speak. So it's a local town, maybe 1,500 people living there or something like that.
I got a bizarre question.
Yep.
How tidal is the near div?
Probably not much tidal at all, because it's a lake, so it doesn't have the big oomph of ocean, so to speak. It's probably big enough to have a tiny amount of tide, but not much. So maybe a foot or so, but not much more than that. So but on the other hand, it has something that ocean don't have. It has seasonality. It probably in spring, when you have snow melt up in the Yatils and stuff like that meaning the Veng River and the several of the rivers flowing into the Artonsamai and Velverdiva that flows into the Nirdiv, they probably bring in way more water when you have the end of winter. And that means that Nirdiv might be several feet higher in springtime or early summer, and then fall back and then go under, so to speak. And then in winter, it might be lower than, or from fall to winter, it's lower, so to speak. So it's only averaging certain times of year. So lakes have that. Some lakes have that seasonal cycle, so to speak, rather than so they are more pronounced than tides are probably negligible. But if you measure them, on a lake that is 200 miles long or a bit over 200 miles, they are probably big enough. And it's also east to west. If it's been north to south, the tidal will probably be completely insignificant. Now it's east to west, and it will generate just a little bit of tide.
Cool.
Yep.
Very neat.
Yep. So this map, and there's plenty of stuff on it, so to speak. And I also introduced some
Good. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Antiquitas. Yeah. So there are plenty of other stuff, so to speak. There are some dungeons. There are some sites, so to speak, that ties into adventuring and stuff. And right now, my campaign is in Dragonhide Caves here. And so they're actually inside the mountain, and I've actually made the Dragonhide Cave so they match the terrain, so to speak. So we had that on the previous show. There is a cutout, so to speak. And next stop in my campaign will probably be here, the Syrian Keep, that is right now held by Wayne of the Boneheart. And his seat of power is
Wow.
So his seat of power is Gensal, and that's the Iusian shield of the Gensal.
Nice.
Sorry, not Gensal, but hang on a second here. I need to go back and not Gensal. Hang on a second. Not Gensal. I need to just zoom in here so I know what I'm talking about, because even me can get lost in Greyhawk sometimes.
Hey, we all get lost in Greyhawk. We all make mistakes in the lore. I do all the time.
Westland, and Westland and Gensel are things that from the Living Greyhawk campaign.
Yep.
So Syrian Keep is my invention, but Wayne is not my invention, and Westland is a slight adaptation of what happened afterward in Wayne's kind of not so glorious career of failures and successes,
multiple
and stuff.
failures, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. So he gets to administer an area that is insignificant of interest to IUs, not at the front line, but not too close to home. So he sent him to an area that doesn't have that much loot and stuff. So that's why Wayne ended up with the Syrian Keep as one of his outposts here.
Banished to the backwater. There are no mistakes in Greyhawk, just the lies the Brotherhood spreads. No, yes, we all have moments of weakness in that female dress. Stop! Oh man, see, I just got my stones busted.
Yep.
I did that to prove a point, Troy.
Yep. And
it was during the fundraiser, so it was okay.
Yep.
I love the colors on this, by the way, Anna.
Yeah, the colors are awesome.
Like they're really just good, natural, easy flowing colors. Do you pick the colors that get sort of overlaid onto your
the texture, I pick the colors, and I use fractals to pick the patterns and stuff, and then I use the geographical influence like erosion, elevation, and things like northern slopes might be different from the southern slope. There are more trees growing on the southern side than the northern side. The northern side have more evergreen things like spruce and pine, and the southern side might have more oaks and trees like that. And some of the trees are, you can see which trees are evergreen and which trees are the more deciduous, other leafy forests, so to speak. And there's so there's a whole bunch of stuff that I've added in and tried to, and this is not finished, it's almost finished, so to speak, but this is a concept map, and it also comes with two grids, a black grid and a white grid. The black grid is a mile square grid, and the white grid are latitude longitude lines. And just to all of you guys who are so into this, the numbers on the latitude longitude lines are fake. I just put them in there as an example of what it can look like.
Okay.
Not because I haven't geo-referenced this concept map to that detail, so to speak. They're roughly in the ballpark, right? But not really. They're right within a couple of degrees. That's about it. But but I wanted to emphasize that there are several types of grid. First of all, you can have hexes and you can have squares, and I chose squares over hexes because that is one of these. But Fantasy Grounds can actually handle both.
They can handle hexes, yeah.
Oh yeah, it can handle hexes, and there are plus and minuses on both of them. And everyone who trying to find a location on the Darlene map realize the problem with hexes. They are really hard to number or reference.
Yeah, and to go,
they become exactly. You either have to do the tough Darlene map by doing diagonal and put it's a mess, or you number each hex. And number hexes work. I did it on my Greyhawk map because I wanted to keep the hexes, so to speak. In this instance, I've used an alphanumeric, so each row vertical row is numbered, and each horizontal row is as a letter, and those are local references per map. It's my idea. So if you use this map for campaign, you can tell the players that we are now in square C3. That's where you find things, or you can jot down little notes and have it. But on the large continental world scale, a grid like this will be very difficult to manage, and you run into problems when you have projections and stuff. A square grid like that works for a country or smaller, just like in the real world. If you have world maps, you don't find squares, or you have a projection that makes everything look screwy when you get close to the poles. And that's why I have latitude longitude things. And when you look at it, these lines, they are slanted or rounded a bit because they are based on projection and scale, and not just straight like this. And they work on the large scale. So you can have like continental maps, you can have world maps, and you can actually see. And that way you can jot down the geographical position of everything or anything, and you can find it on every map. Because if you have these the latitude longitude grid, you can find anything on any map. So for global references of where cities are and stuff like that, latitude longitude beats everything, because it cuts across all the maps. But for local regional notes and stuff during your campaign, the square grid is perfect. But when you move into a tactical level, I would prefer a hex grid, because that is the best one, because there is no diagonal movement. So they all have their place. All the types of grids have their place, depending on what the purpose is, so to speak. So I would love to, instead of using 5-foot squares in my battle maps, I would like hexes. In the local maps to small regional, squares, and the big picture latitude, longitude.
Interesting.
Grid. Yeah.
Never even thought of that.
Yep. So but normally we don't work on the really big picture, and
Right.
we don't use projected maps and stuff. But once we move into the realm of large, accurate, super detailed maps, then all these issues from the real world creep into our fantasy games. But we also have to acknowledge we don't need latitude, longitude more to find things in the real world. Like normally where you need latitude, longitude is for sea navigation and aerial navigation, in order to find your way across the Pacific or the Atlantic Ocean or across the Sahara Desert or something like that. That's when you need it, so you can plot a course and stuff. And that's not something you need in your game. Your damn dragon will go there anyway. So that's so there are things that you don't need to, but it's kind of cool to have it. But it's cool to find places globally that you want to have a global positioning for, so to speak. If you want to find them on or plot them, you want to plot areas and stuff like that on a global map, that latitude, longitude is the best.
Oops.
But that's what
wrong button for Jay.
Into.
Wrong button. There's my first big wrong button. Yep. I apologize.
Yeah, so if you see some cool stuff on this map, now is the time to ask me. But I can also tell my top patrons will get a rundown, and on my Meyerhawk mid-level patrons will get a rundown on upwards. My $3 a month upward, you will get a description of basically every of this place and back history. There is a place called the Sevil's Spire, for instance. There is a history behind it, and Syrian Keep has a history. The Dragonhide Caves has a history, etc.
That's awesome.
So that's coming, and it will come to everybody eventually. So yeah.
Very cool. And we're hoping to have stuff like that too in our publication. Absolutely. Yep. So, Alyssa, you've given me a step-by-step on production of Wantham, and because I was like, oh wow, look, number 1, 2, 3, 4. I was like 0.1, 0.2, yeah. So I got 0.1 up here.
Yeah. So the points. So I'm drawing Wantham is a slightly different scale than what Ada's got going on. And before everyone leaves the chat going, well, this is just
I'd say you draw it as a more detailed scale than the map we just looked at. This is way more detailed than
not this one.
Well, not yet.
Not this one. No, not this one.
Okay.
I mean, look at it, Anna. I mean, it's a sketch.
It's very basic, but but it's no problem.
The purpose behind this. So before everyone sort of kind of leaves the chat and going, well, I could do that. My little 2-year-old Timmy could draw that. I did a series of initial sketches to try and effectively, what is the shape of my city? What side of the river is my city? What direction does the river go in? What size river feels good at this scale? What kind of zoom out are we at? Because if I zoom all of the way in, maybe the river actually starts to get pushed off the page. And so I only maybe get one half of the river. I don't get the other bank. So this was really a sense of trying to get layout. What do I want the layout of the Wantham city to be? And in one of the other sort of regional maps, the river kind of runs on this sort of southwest, northeast kind of angle. So I started to explore that. And likewise, the main road goes from kind of east to west, but kind of starts bending up towards the north. So this was me just kind of sort of sketching some things out. And there's actually some thought process here, which I did sort of put down in a video on my channel, where I was like, if there is a bridge here, there is a major road here, it does go to the other side. They've probably at this point got some growth of city over there too. I know the main regional map shows Wantham on the east. I want to make sure we stick to that. But I think there would be a population on the other side too. You're not just going to have, not at this stage of the city, right? So, but it's not, it's clearly not.
I like the creative.
Yeah, and just let me just, there is, in this case, I'm definitely with you. There needs to be a population, but think about one thing is that there depends on, because the city of Wantham is the other side of the river is the same country. It's the same political entity, so to speak. It's not a hostile, evil empire or something like that. So I'm just talking to all the city designers out there. Think about what the political and other situation is on the other side. Are they friendly, hostile? Are they just the neighbors? And this area is the same entity, county on both sides of it. So
yeah, absolutely, good point. Okay, so that's point 1, and then you got point 2, right?
So point 2 was me exploring a different orientation and where north would be if I actually rotated everything, so the river just ran from left to right. Notice I didn't say from west to east. If I reorientated this map, I don't, by the way, just me personally, I'm not a huge fan of putting like the compass rose on angles to show where north is at.
Right.
I want north to be at the top, unless there's a darn good reason not to. So I ditched this idea. I explored, because I was doing all of this on video. It's like, so let's explore this. Don't like it, move on to the next one. So hit me with a point 3.
Okay.
So point 3 then explored, what if we actually then zoom in just a little bit on this? And you can see that we start to, and what if we put more on the west side of the river? And for me, it just, you just start to lose it. Like we're too close at this point. It's not, I wasn't feeling it. So move on and hit me with a 0.5, because 0.5 is where I started to then sort of solidify. And so with this one, I was like, okay, I'm beginning to feel this. Most of Wantham is on the east. There is part of Wantham on the west. It's a much smaller part, but they have fortified that side because this is a major bridge that's crossing the river. We do know that Wantham had a huge population influx. So one of the things I want to do is have a sprawl outside of the city walls. I'm going to do it on the east, but I'm also got it on the west side. This is part of the town, part of the city that's not under the protection of the actual walls themselves. There's a couple of things that I've done here, and I'm just sketching it out at this stage. You guys and girls are going to get to see the super detail where I'm at in a moment. But I wanted to place a keep towards the heart of the city, and let's call it the east olden part of the city. This is where Wantham was born, so to speak. And then we've got, like, you see that shaded area to the west of it. That's kind of the part that's playing homage to the previous map that we were looking at in the magazine. This is like, let's call it Old Wantham right here. This is kind of where the city started. You've got the keep. The keep eventually decided they were going to expand a little bit. They expanded towards the river. That's where they've got maybe some docks and the trading going on at this juncture. That probably would have been things for a while until they threw up the outer curtain, that extra wall on the outside there. And that becomes the Wantham that we know today. I also then started to sketch out the concept of having some islands along the river. And I like that only because I could use one of the islands as a foundation for the bridge going across it. So this is me sort of placing down some possible geographic interest features.
Yeah, because that makes the reason for them to build the bridge there in the first place, so to speak. So
exactly, exactly. Because you would, if there was an island there, you would build the bridge across it. I also think it has a nice visual interest to it.
Yeah.
I also wanted to start then adding so Wantham we know has a big lumber industry. And so I want this to feel like there's a lumber industry going on. So the north part of the city, I started experimenting, and at this stage I'm sketching it out, where you know the London docks, they literally have these man-made cut-out areas that you can access with canals.
Yeah,
so
you,
I started
you get away.
sketching that
Oh,
in.
sorry, go on.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, so you get away from the flow of the river, so you can have like a port, that an area to put ships that you can kind of work on barges and stuff.
Put your logs. I imagine these log farms just floating there in the water, waiting to get pulled out and worked with. I want the north to fit, because I also started to think if the flow of the water is from the north to the south, then that would be so good to do the old Pacific Northwest, chop down the trees, throw them in the water, let them flow down. I want the north part of the city to have the bulk of the logging industry.
Well, yeah, so that's where they collect and process the logs and stuff like that.
Exactly. So this was me kind of sort of sketching that out. I think at this juncture, we could probably hit Wantham 2, Jay. Maybe Wantham 1. This is Wantham 1. So running with this concept, I started to, and this one you can start zooming in, but I started to actually solidify my outer areas. So I've penciled in my river flow. I've penciled in the islands. I've actually drawn in the outer walls. I've drawn in the outer walls on the west. I've got my towers and on the corners there. So you can see I've still got my sketch in the background, but this is me sort of saying, okay, I'm happy with this Wantham shape and size. Here's my docks where we're going to actually have some industry going on. Keep an eye on that. I also thought, you know what? On the west side, there's going to be logging over there too.
So
they're going to probably have a smaller dock. They're going to have some stuff going on.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Right? But they're not going to just ignore that area. At this point of the maturity of the city, they're going to have things happening.
Ah, it's total sense.
It's cheaper to make one there than to expand outside the walls on the same side, so to speak, further away from the city. So, yeah. Or competing business or whatever. So, something. So, yeah.
And then what I started to do, Jay, if you go right to the north there, north of that small little sort of cutout, you'll see I started to draw some trees in.
Here.
This is me. So one concept that I have on this map, and we're going to see it on the next couple as well, is if Wantham has been around for a while, and it has, it's probably chopped down all of the trees nearby. But if I chop down every single tree on this map, you're not going to have that dichotomy of growth versus non-growth. So I wanted you to have this sense of what's been lost, i.e. sections of forestry that is not there anymore. And for me to portray that on the map, I wanted to actually show you the bits that are still standing with pockets that are missing, where the lumber industry has actually encroached upon it. So I started on this map just to start drawing my tree line.
Okay.
If we advance one.
Okay. That'd be Wantham 3.
2, I think.
2. Sorry about that.
Right. Yeah, no, it's cool. So if we stay on the northwest side of this, I actually I normally draw my cities, by the way, from the interior out. For some bizarre reason, on this one, I didn't, because I was really jonesing to start getting the lumber industry in, I think. So zoom way in on the northwest there. There were some medieval towns that I was looking at while sort of getting inspiration for this. And one of them, obviously, that next to a river, there's probably a high degree of chance that this is going to be a fertile area, good for farming, etc. So it's like I want to keep some of that, especially close to the city. I want to have my farms in here, but I also want to make sure that beyond the farms, I'm getting the actual industry in here. So you can see now that I've started to add the copse of trees. There were gaps in between them. And Jay's not zoomed in close enough, but I've actually got fallen trees on the ground. And you'll start to see that I've started to draw in some lumber yards. I've started to draw in lumber sheds and things like that. And I've got little circles where there are tree stumps and things like that.
Oh, that is so cute.
This looks
it's
like
awesome.
This is
a
dock area, right?
Exactly.
Great.
So this is that little tiny area that we were looking at before. And I want to make it feel industrial. I love drawing medieval cranes nowadays in an area because it evokes that sense of industry. Of course, then you got your warehouses and piles of logs next to them. And I look, so in any area, like obviously I'm familiar with London, but any industrial area on a river will shove buildings up against that river. They'll also start to overhang the river. They just do.
Well, yeah, because then you can unload from the ship straight into the building. So
exactly. So that's why I've got some buildings over there overlapping the water below, and it starts to give that great sense of industry. Here, and you can see I'm going. By the way, Anna, this map is 8,800 pixels across. I'm not sure what that translates to on a pixel per 5 feet sort of basis. But I think we're in a good position.
Yeah, but to me that is a natural scale because it ties directly into D&D and meaning you use 5 feet is the 5 feet square is kind of the standard for role-playing games or fantasy.
No, that's a great point.
Yeah, so you simply say how many pixels per 5 feet square, so to speak. So yeah.
Now here, what I wanted to do, there was a couple of things. I wanted to mark off where my fields were at. I wanted to mark off where my industry at. You'll see that we've got a little orchard there too, where we've got some planted trees, which will be this wonderful little patch of color on this map. But you'll see that I'm also starting to draw in the sprawl to the west.
Yeah.
And the thing about the sprawl is I don't want it to feel planned. I want the buildings to feel smaller and I want them to feel looser. I don't want this congestion of the city here.
Yeah, but you also, I think you captured the fact that it's like an onion. It's like they build one layer of sprawl, and then a few years later, the next generation of people that want to settle down, they build the next layer of that onion, so to speak, and then it gets more established and the closer you get to the city over time. I think you depicted that really well there. I love it.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. This is me, but I'm trying to keep things simple on this map, by the way, and I keep getting into the details, and I realized I was getting too
you want to
small.
paint the little things they have in the backyards and stuff like that. So yeah.
So Jay, do me a favor, zoom in on the western side of the city within the interior walls there a little bit. So what I did is I decided I needed to get into the city a little bit to reset the scale I wanted to draw at, because I don't want to draw individual little buildings. I do a lot of blocks, warehouses, buildings next to each other, that type of thing. So this was me resetting the scale, the type of size of I want a building to kind of be. Now, Jay, in a moment, I want you to kind of start walking across the bridge. You'll notice I've added little stairs going down into the water.
Oh,
here.
yes. And then you get set 5 feet scale. There you get the scale. Those stairs are either 5 feet or 10 feet or something roughly across.
Right.
So, yeah.
So I thought, if one of them has this major highway going through it across a bridge, if one of them has a population problem, they probably started building on the bridge.
So like London Bridge was in the 1600s.
London Bridge.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm going to do London Bridge in Wantham because I think that's visually awesome. On the west side of it there, it's like, I think they would have some towers. They'd have you're about to cross a major sort of bridge. They're probably going to have steps going down. So let's say the Thames, even though it's a different river name, for minor boats and stuff. And then I started to draw my buildings on the edge of the actual bridge. And by the time I got to the middle, I thought they would probably have some way down onto this island. There's probably something on this island, and I don't know what it is yet. But if they've got a way to get down and up from this island, wouldn't it be kind of cool to have a carved facade on the bridge itself?
That's what this is.
Yeah.
So as you're coming in and out of the city, I can imagine this big statue of something. On the west side, he's holding a spear. On the south side, I think he's got a spear and a shield. But I thought that would be cool. I can picture that. I can picture being on the Wantham River, seeing this big statue with this incredible bridge. And that's, by the way, folks, that's how I tend to draw my maps. I start picturing myself on the ground. What am I seeing? What would be a spectacular sight? So I've added this to Wantham, and I hope that passes a great horse.
I think it's perfect. Yeah, I think it's great.
So Gary Holian's asking, was this done? This isn't done freehand. This is done on a
no,
pad.
This is freehand. So
this is paper.
Thing. No.
Yeah.
Let's bear in mind that you could draw freehand on a computer.
Right.
It is the best of both worlds. This is all freehand. This is all drawn.
Wacom.
But I have a Control-Z take back if I screw up.
Okay.
But and I can zoom way in. I can zoom way out. I can rotate and so on and so forth. I can
This is
erase.
your best friend.
Yeah, but it's all hand drawn.
It's a Wacom tablet you have, or is it
Wacom tablet.
It's a Wacom tablet.
Oh, you have the luxury of a really cool big Wacom screen. I have the small little budget screen, and I have a tablet. But get a
well,
Wacom,
and that's one. The story behind that, Anna, is I am ink on paper. That is my origin, ink on paper, and I can't do the disconnect of having the pad to one side if I'm going to draw like this. So I had to draw on basically virtual paper. So I invested in the Wacom, and I did so because of Cobalt Publishing, because they asked me to color a map I did for them. And I was like, there's no way I can color this unless I do it digitally. And so I invested because of those guys.
But you really like to work fully digitally now, so to speak?
Oh, yeah. I love it. Because especially because it is a pen on paper with a Control-Z take back and the convenience of a copy paste if I need it. I love it.
And you can work on layers, so you can actually draw a sketch and then you can color it under it, so to speak, meaning that you can do that on paper.
And that's exactly what I do.
You can work in any order you want, so to speak, when you do it digitally. So you can.
And by the way, Mac Air with pen. Yes, even on my Patreon, when I give give out a lot of the time PSDs on my Patreon, I include a guide with it, and I talk about other programs that you can use and import this into them and how to do it. Yeah, 100%. If you
I think
have
Wacom originally came out for Macs and not PCs, and now
and ultimately it's like, just to spoil it down. If you can have a digital pen and draw it, I don't care if it's a tablet, I don't care if it's a computer, you can do it. You can replicate this 100%.
Yep.
And Anna and I are going to talk about tools in a future show.
Oh yeah, we need to go into more kind of, and what maybe we should talk about our setups and stuff, and a little bit. That we should do that in a show where we talk about our setups and the tools and
that would be cool. We could do that.
Yeah, that's a good.
Let's go to the north there a little bit, Jay.
Yep.
And by the way, pencil and ink, Canadian Ancient Gamer. That's where I started. When you see the faint lines in the background there, that is me digitally replicating a pencil. I erase that layer later on. That's just my guidelines. That's your pencil. And then when I do ink, yes, I can take it back. I can erase it. But this is how I used to do it. This is exactly the same process that I used to do. Pencil and ink on paper. So this area to the north, I was jonesing to start adding industry to the north. We'll zoom out a little bit in a moment. If you could zoom in, Jay.
Sure.
I just wanted to start.
Here, right here,
the north. Yeah, I want this to feel like industry.
Yes.
This is a logging industry that we've got going on.
That's very cool.
And so I've got the logs that have come down the river and they've pulled them up onto the shoreline here. I've got my cranes that have been pulling the logs out. If we go to the south a little bit, I thought it'd be kind of cool. I can't do a tidal energy system, like a tidal mill, because there is probably very little tide here because it is a river. But I figured maybe I could direct some water flow into some water wheels.
Yeah, you could dig a little side thing and then run some water through it. Yeah,
right. And maybe that way there would be some buildings on it, some industry-like buildings.
But that
would be kind of cool.
the natural power source here. Meaning
natural power source. I don't know how they're getting the power from there to here, but hey, magic.
The ones that got missed.
I want to get this concept of like logs that are float. Remember that like the Pacific Northwest, a big, huge logging industries. They just have these logs floating on the water, guys walking on them. It's such a great visual. I thought, let's have that here. And I'm probably going to add more. And I've got a slope where they have then a building where they pull the logs out. And I've got little sawdust and shit on the ground. And this is going to be our kernel of where our industry is at.
Very cool.
Oh, I love it. It is, and you realize you've probably done the first industrial portrait from Greyhawk, so to speak. This is also so cool.
This is fun. And P.S. Menger,
Puffet Smedger.
Okay, Puffet Smedger.
It's scary.
You're right. There is a softness to my lines, and that's on purpose. You'll see. I try to stay away from the digital, straight, hard lines, unless I want to evoke a sense of man influence on it in a big way, like, but precision, engineering. That's when you'll start to see my big straight lines appearing. And I do that on purpose, because if you imagine a whole map where every line is perfect, it's going to feel modern. But if I have some softness and so even some jaggedness to my lines, it starts to feel a little bit more medieval. Then my temples and everything will be perfect, because they're temples. Money's been spent on them, but now they look special compared to the softer lines of my other buildings, which are sheds and regular buildings and so on and so forth.
Yep.
Very cool.
Yeah, this is so cool.
I think we have one more after this.
So this was 3, so 4.
Yeah.
Wait, I have 4 and 5. No, it's 0.5. Okay. I have
Yeah,
Untitled 5.
just a 4.
Right, just 4.
So so with this map, stay away from the keep and everything in the center for a moment. I realized that I needed to understand the flow of people where it came to the main roads particularly, and I want to start mapping out the secondary and tertiary roads in my city.
Yep.
And so that's a lot of the gray lines that are very soft in the background. I tend to draw and mark off near the city walls. There's going to be no buildings. I understand that in medieval culture, some buildings might get really close to the walls. I come from Chester. There's a lot of instances of that. But for the most part, I figure foot traffic, troop traffic needs to move along those areas a lot. So I tend to mark off near the walls completely.
Yeah, but I also think that a lot of, I think a lot of these buildings that appear closer to medieval walls that are still left in Europe and places are built after the medieval period.
Well,
the walls were still there, but they were not defensive. They were more like ornaments of the city rather than actual defensive things, because when they were used defensively, I'm pretty sure that most of them were left. They had a distance between the walls and the city for several reasons, so you can use the walls defensively better and stuff like that. So and move troops along the base of it and stuff. Yeah.
So what I started, so I had this, so basically here's my thought process on this. The east to west, at least on the main map itself, seems like it's the main road. And I felt that if that's the main road, probably that's the first road that appeared through Wantham. It probably goes through Old Wantham. Okay. And so you can see I've sketched this nice path through Old Wantham, out to the bridge, and then out from the bridge, out to the other side itself. And yes, it will be a barbican. I haven't finished that section, but yes, I'm making room for barbicans and things like that. And then we have the north-south road. And I was going to put it through Old Wantham as well. Now, so Jay, right in the west-southwest corner, you can actually see that we've got the entrance to the city there.
Yeah.
Right there. Right.
Okay.
I was going to have that come in through Old Wantham as well. But then I literally was close to drawing it. I did all of this on video. But then I was like, hold on a minute. What if Old Wantham was there first? We've got the east to west road. It goes through Old Wantham. That's now walled off. Then we have this north-south road. Wouldn't it be cool if it goes along the edge of Old Wantham and intersects with the old road? So it's like new road intersects with old road. So right there, we're going to have an intersection. And so you could kind of sort of zoom in right now where next to the bridge is at. And so this was my thought process. So we're going to have these two roads intersect here. I'm thinking about putting the marketplace right here. That's what I'm thinking.
I think that's natural to do it. Yes, it should be.
It's a trade area, right?
Yeah.
You've got the intersection of the two roads. It's close to the river itself. We might even spill into Old Wantham a little bit. Yeah. Those are the older merchants that have got those.
Yeah, and then next to the square, you should have entertainment like big inns and stuff like that to cater to keep people
and because of that,
eating and stuff.
You can see I started drawing some warehouses along the edge of the river. But I stopped because I was like, no, I've got to get these roads dialed in because they're going to drive so much personality of the city. Exactly. So I got them in, and I can personally picture it walking along the new
already,
road.
You made me fall
right?
in love with Wampton already. This is one of these kind of places that we're
You've
just
got
like,
the
okay.
walls to your right here of old Wampton, you know, and it just follows. It follows old Wampton as it snakes through the city and goes out past the industrial area and out to the north.
Yeah, right here, as you can see it.
And then you'll see I've got lines coming off this. This is where I'm going to do my secondary roads coming off. This is how your foot traffic accesses other areas of the city or the districts. I'm probably going to do the richer area towards the south, overlooking the river, away from the industry.
So down
I'm
here.
going to do the temples, some in Old Wampum, some snaking around the wall. So all of that area in shot right now, richer area, temple-like area, get the marketplace out towards the west. And as we go towards the north, the further you go, the poorer it gets, the more cost-effective your house gets.
Yeah, I was thinking, do you think gentrification could be a thing in fantasy cities too? I was thinking Old Town will be from there might have been, it served the whole town was in Old Town to begin with, and then when they moved out and established themselves outside the wall, then that was a repurpose of Old Town. Did it go into the really posh people wanted to live there, or was it simply where we put the
But see, that's a great question, and at this juncture,
I haven't thought about it until I realized,
make a decision.
Yeah, I mean, meaning these are now things that we talk about so much in city design today, and I realize the same forces might be working in a fantasy city too. So meaning, how do they handle things like homeless and when they relocate and when the city expands and stuff like that? How does that work, so to speak, in a fantasy city? Yeah.
So the audience, did you ever think you could go this in depth in just Wampum? And this is the start, right?
Yeah.
First one. So
I would love to know what people think of this. Anna, Jay, yourself included. This is my first Greyhawk map, but you can understand kind of the thought process I apply as I'm drawing.
We may need for you to consult when we're setting Altamira up. I may need to make some changes that make logical sense. But then again, that was a fortress area that just the city grew within it, so it kind of was haphazard. I think a little bit more.
Meaning Jay did the mistake of hire two photographers on this project, meaning he will get scrutinized up the wazoo for everything here. So yeah.
Canadian Gamer. All right, so Canadian. That's exactly the type of comment, Canadian Gamer, that I used to just feed off when I used to do live streaming. I am going to add Pilby's Pub and Pork Pies to this map.
See, look at that. Look at that, Patrick.
That is so cool.
Okay, it's done.
You got it.
It's done. I'm copying it right now. I'm going to make a note of that.
That is awesome.
See?
Yep.
That is
and
really
it might
cool.
be that some of these old stuff that used to be, people did like, oh, that was old and kind of have forgotten, and then it became an institution. So some of these old inn and small temples or whatever might have survived inside the old town, even despite the fact that they have now big glorious. Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
meaning
and I'm probably going to need a little bit of advice on this too.
Yeah.
I need to understand what type of temples would be here, what they might look like, what type of size they have, and that's what I rely on this community for, is getting that type of input in there.
Remember, everybody, now we need to help Alyssa make this one even better. So
yeah, absolutely. That's a great thing with the community. The community is always here to help. So,
and I will take it. Look, it's not about my portraying at all, but just so you guys and girls know, I'm probably releasing 2 or 3 videos a week on my portraying as I'm working on this, and I'm doing progress shots 2 or 3 times per week as well. And I talk about my thought process on all of this.
Oh yeah,
and then at the
those
end,
videos are
you get a copy of every single one, but you also will get a final copy, black and white and color. And, you know, I'm probably going to need a source of labels on this stuff. Jay, Anna, and the community, you are going to have to give it to me.
Okay. Yep.
We got to label this thing, or at least key it, right?
Oh yeah, exactly. We need to have come up with. So that's something you need to community help. Street names and other cool places that with Greyhawk kind of appeal.
So while this is going on, Gary's linking the map of the Wampum area from yours in Cannon Fire Discord, and Gitano's putting up a poem. So there's always stuff going on behind the scenes as the show's going on in other spots too, which is really cool.
I am seriously glad and humbled to be able to put my little toe into the Greyhawk community. And I feel like Wantham is a great entry.
Yeah.
And maybe to you guys and girls, it's like, Wantham, whatever. But I like to feel like I'm bringing it some personality.
Yeah, definitely. This is awesome. Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff that can be.
And now I want to map the whole area. I want to make those 15 by 15 miles, the 200 square miles around Wantham when I have this. So that's
what would an adventurer's quarter look like, by the way? I just saw that.
I don't know if it's an adventurer's quarter as much as a guild hall.
Guild hall.
Guild hall. I mean, I'm big on guild halls in all my towns.
A little bit of elven influence probably do too, because there are elves up in the Gameboge forest and stuff. So
I love it. I love it.
Tiny sliver of elven influence there probably should be too in Wantham. Yeah. Old Flan influence here and there, so to speak. Not much, but the
old Flan.
Yeah, meaning a druid little place somewhere hidden away somewhere. Maybe poor quarter slums should have a little park, even in the slums, so to speak, of with the druid little place, so to speak.
Cool.
There's some like a mini Stonehenge or other little area where you druids can have like outdoor sermons and stuff like that for the old folksy, because this is prime Iridian area, but there is old Flan and a bit of elven present. I'm sure it's still there. They didn't extinguish all of it. So you have the main culture, the Iridian culture, that is kind of the standard fantasy culture in this sense, and then you have the sprinkle of the old that were there before, the Flan, that are like the old Celts of Europe or something like that. They got run over by Romans and others later, so to speak. And then you have elven culture that are in the forest and stuff that have been here forever, but been kind of in the margins from human influence. So you have that kind of the majority culture. You have the old human culture that is still present to some degree, and elves that have always had their presence a little bit. So
how would the elves and the druids feel about this whole area being deforested?
They probably hated it to begin with, and there was some strife when the Iridians came in, because they were the conquerors. They were like the Romans who built their empire and putting things down. But over time, I think those animosity have turned into those are so many generations ago. It's 600 years ago now. It's like 600 years ago, and the elves might still be more, but the old Flan, it's intermingled, meaning that the conquerors brought in, they took on, they both assimilated, both the conqueror and the conquered assimilated. So there are now parts of Flan culture in the Iridian. So the common culture that have now come after half a millennium or more, because the conquering was like the Iridian came in like 600 to 800 to 1,000 years ago. So it's been that long. So it's like almost like the Roman Empire. It's really far in history now. So the common culture that came out of it is probably like 80 or 70-80% Iridian and 20-30% Flan, and with a little sprinkled elven stuff in there. That's my take on it.
Yeah, so Gary's pointing out Wantham is almost a border town because the Gamboge is not claimed.
Yeah, exactly. It's the last big, we talked about the first time. It's the last major outpost before you get into forest wilderness, basically. So yeah, there's some.
And Anna, would I be able to get your heraldry for this?
Definitely. We need to we need to
because I want to slap your heraldry on it.
Oh sure, yeah, definitely. I'm not sure, I haven't got to Wantham, the local area, but I will get to it. I'll get it done this week, so you will have it. So yep.
Awesome. I'm probably about 2 months out with coloring.
Yep. Oh yeah, so definitely. And we that's the heraldry for, we have the heraldry for the Royal Duchy of Wantham, but we have to figure out if we want to have, or if you want to have, a special city heraldry of Wantham. There might be an older heraldry.
Oh, you guys and girls advise me on that.
Okay,
because you know what I like doing
on
my compass roses. I like putting a design in the center of my rose.
Oh,
that is always pertinent to the map. I've been doing it for a while now. So if Wantham would have something, maybe it's a tree Maybe it's a stump. I don't know.
Right now, it's actually it's a shield with 3 parts. It's a purple up left, a black band in the middle, and a yellow down right. And the top purple on the top, so to speak, has a hang on a second. It is a hippogriff or griffin. It's a griffin, a green griffin, and then it's a bow and arrow on the yellow part. That is from the living greyhawk area. And so that's the current, but we can always come up with more cool stuff, so to speak. So, but I'll fix it and send it to you. So yeah,
that is awesome. So there's a nice big tidbit of what's going on in Alyssa's Wantham project.
Yeah.
The first
one.
one.
This is so cool.
Yep.
And what we're going to do is every time we do a fantasy mapping show, I'll show you where I'm at.
Yeah.
So this is going to be a lot more filled in. And we will have Pilby's Pub and Pork Pies. We will have a guild hall. We will have elven influence, druidic influence, a bizarre style ring of buildings, a guild hall potentially. Yeah, and a whole lot more. So
that's awesome.
Tune in on the next fantasy mapping show.
Yep.
Let's take some questions. See if the audience has got any questions here on anything we've discussed tonight so far.
And I can post a link again to my map for people that come in, so to speak. The one that I.
Grape, why do I know that name? I should know that name.
That we discussed.
Who, Alyssa?
Earlier that day.
Should I know Terry Pavlet, Alyssa?
You probably would know him by name.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that you're even going, oh, whoa, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, thank you, Gary. Yep.
Yep. So, artist. Okay. Oh, cool. Oh, cool. Great. Good to hear that was done. All right. Well, you guys are easy. I thought we'd have a couple questions.
Yeah,
here.
I was kind of
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. Meaning we had to put her down a couple of days ago.
Yeah. One of the first announcements. So.
Thank you.
Okay.
You know what we should do, Anna? We should do something for Minnie in the Wantham map.
There you go.
Oh, that will be so cool.
Think about it. Think about it, because that becomes permanent. That becomes
that
history,
will be
right?
awesome. Yeah.
So think about whatever that would be.
Yeah.
We'll put it on there.
I think Minnie's best friend was Deacon. We can have Minnie and Deacon in the backyard. They can go on a walk somewhere or be on the backyard.
I think we should do something like that.
That will be so cool. I'll send you a picture of Minnie and
Please.
Deacon.
Yeah.
So Gary's point is that it seems like the most danger to Wantham would come from the north. Are you working on that assumption?
Yeah, north and east is probably where you have the flinty hills, and up in the forest. That's where that's where the edge of civilization is. South is where the rest of the kingdom is, so to speak. So yeah.
Things like small rivers and such, by the way. I'm not going to pretend here. All of you know a lot more about Greyhawk and potentially Wantham than I do. If you say, well, I think that there might be some small rivers, a little bit like rivers of London, that function like sewers, maybe we add them. But on a city like this, you might not see them, you know?
Right.
Yeah. And also, there is no detail like that up until now. So Alyssa, you could create it, so to speak, because there's none.
If it makes sense for her to
exactly. So if it makes sense, put it in there. But there is no other major river going in there as far as we know. So small ones,
I'll take any ideas too that this community has. Just throw them at me. You can see I write them all down.
Right.
We'll see what we can work in here. Become part of Wantham.
That's really cool. Far cry from the original, map that they had just a little bit of, and that's a great thing. Really, it's first step forward with all. As Gary says, it's terra incognita because really not much has been done.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so what did we miss tonight in discussion? I think we covered almost everything we needed to. Is that correct, Anna and Alyssa?
Well, yeah, I had a bunch more on my this. Hang on a second. There is a player handout version of that map. Please show that. So just to
player's handout version. You mean the overview maps?
Yeah, there is a player handout, whatever
that.
It's called. Yeah, exactly. Zoom in on that one a little bit.
Okay.
And I just want to tell the story. This is definitely no work of art, so to speak. But I wanted to show, just because this took me roughly 3-4 minutes or less than 10 minutes to do in Photoshop. So I took the overview map, I reduced the size to 1/4, and I ran it through a couple of filters in Photoshop and slapped the heraldry onto it. And it's not a great player's handout map by any means, but it is a player's handout map. And you can put a bit more parchment, and if you work an hour on it, you can kind of paint in some of the roads and do some of that stuff. But if you want the characters to just happen to be able to buy or find a map of an area, you can kind of do, and what then I also suggest you can skew up the terrains, because now the terrain is almost picture perfect, so to speak. You can kind of tweak that one way or the other a little bit back and forth to make the maps as accurate or inaccurate as you want. But you can actually produce player handout versions of the map. And my intention is in the future projects to have various versions of player handout maps that look way cooler than this, so to speak. That I kind of spend a little bit of time to do it. And GIS, you can do some cool stuff with symbols and stuff too. So, but I just pointed out that you can do also stuff. And also I point out that everything you've seen on this area map is done in full 3D. This presentation is only 2D, but just like the Altamira map, it's all in 3D.
Right.
So there could be 3D versions.
It looks like, you know,
it's just done through some fancy filters and stuff. So it's kind of if you want to have a quick handout, so you want to give the players an idea, or they pick up a cheap map done by, or this might be a map that when they go to a local baron or lord or someone has this map hanging as a tapestry on in the back, so to speak, and then you hand it out to the players. This is the map you see in back in the throne room or at the city mayor's office or something, so to speak. A powerful wizard or something has it in the back as a to proof of his domain or his ambitions or money or whatever it is.
Gary asked about Microsoft Surfaces, Alyssa. Do they have any
Yeah, actually, so I was typing the response, but yeah, I have a Microsoft Surface. I use it for going to conventions and then use a projector so I can draw on the Microsoft Surface.
Yep.
And you get to see it. It works exactly the same way.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, any program, GIMP, Anna and I will talk about them. Any program that can handle you drawing on it, you're good to go. Seriously. And so, yeah, Microsoft Surface is perfect.
Yeah, I have a Lenovo ThinkPad that has the same technology as a Surface, and it's like a Surface knockoff, kind of, and it also works really well with Photoshop and stuff. So yeah,
and GIMP's free, right?
Yeah, GIMP is free, and there's GIMP, and Krita is another one that is open source that you can use for that. They can do a lot of the same.
And most tablets too nowadays, like Microsoft doesn't, but you know. Mac, I think, comes with drawing programs on it.
I have an Android, a Samsung Galaxy tablet here, and this one comes with a pen, and you have sketching apps on this one that can do a lot of the cool stuff too. So.
It's like, so there's a perfect example of Microsoft Surface. You have to pay for the pen, some extra $100.
Yeah, this includes. So this is Android, and an iPad now comes with you have an Apple Pencil or iPad Pencil, whatever it's called, that you can do it. This one, the Galaxy Tab 8 or whatever it's called, it's a 10-inch. It comes with a pen that sits outside and recharges. It works really well for sketching. It's fantastic. Yeah.
So we definitely will, within the next couple, have another.
We need to
go back and go in depth.
Yeah. Then we'd have to take screenshots of or like pictures of our setups and stuff so people can see, because I got that question a lot. So when I cleaned up my desk recently, I actually took pictures when I didn't have all the.
I have some pictures of mine, but you know, Mine's got neon lights and shit too. I'm like some kind of boy racer, stupid shit.
Might have so many crappy stuff on it, like joysticks and whatnot, that has nothing to do. But
but that's okay. Well, mine is surrounded by bloody miniatures that I haven't painted yet.
So we should do that and then talk a little bit about the
let's do it. Let's get a nice high-res photo of our work areas, and then we can talk about them in the level of detail where we're talking about the dust that is accumulated on my shelves.
Oh, don't talk about it. Yep.
I have the same problem downstairs. You always got to clean those shelves with the miniatures. Oh, you get the dust all over the place, especially on all the BattleTech figures. So, was our previous fantasy mapping show before the Ed Greenwood game, Alyssa? Or was it after?
That?
The game because we never even talked about it.
Was after. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Was fantasy map show after it or before it?
No, it was before. We had
we haven't even talked about that. We haven't even talked about that yet. So,
and it was a great game. I had so much fun with you guys and girls. Seriously.
Oh, that was great.
Even I went really foul evil on that one though. I really with the anti-paladin.
You did, but
that
it was
a
so
great game.
Fun.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a great game.
That's what I want. I'm glad to hear that because
I had a blast, my friend. I had a blast.
And I think it's time to kind of talk about a future fantasy mapping show that we will have.
Let's do this because
I know be really, really cool.
I know Gary's going to go.
No. This will be, I think, the coolest. If it was cool to me and Alyssa babble about Greyhawk maps.
This is pretty amazing too.
This will be a cool one. So
here we go.
Everyone. Yeah, it knows that Jay have had Ed Greenwood on for various gabbins and played games and stuff. We are going to have a fantasy mapping show where we discuss Forgotten Realms cartography and geography with Ed Greenwood. And he has the original Forgotten Realms maps. And stuff. And he's going to show some exclusives and some really cool stuff. And we're going to discuss the Forgotten Realms from a geography, cartography perspective for 2 hours. I think that will be fantastic fun.
Yeah. So from the beginning, right? We get some original thought process on how it was made, just see how Ed's brain works.
Yep. And Alyssa and me can pick his brain on cartography and geography and related topics on Forgotten Realms.
Yeah, we're not sure if that's going to be the next one or not.
We'll see. It's up to scheduling.
Man. Yeah. It's all up to scheduling. And I'll say this: I have nothing planned after this right now. Not a single show that's a definite. I mean, I know the dates. I just don't have anything. It's vacation time after this for me. So, why don't we do some quickie shout outs here? Alyssa, what's going on?
Well, my main
what else?
My main project right now is Wamptham, getting that into a coloring sort of stage. That's my main focus. I'm also working on the cosmology of role-playing games. I have about 1,000 titles on that right now, where I'm drawing a map of the evolution of role-playing games from that first big bang from TSR all the way out, and I'm hoping every single title that has ever been released to modern day. So I'm working on that, and the plan is to release it at GaryCon next year.
Nice.
In a printed format. Plan is to have a canvas print, have all of the guests sign it. Those are my two big projects right now. Luke Gygax had a Kickstarter not that long ago, like a month or so ago. He was successful. I was a stretch goal.
Oh,
no one spoke to me about actually drawing those maps yet. So I think at some point, someone is going to come to me and go, "Oh my God, we need some maps. Can you draw them real quick?" So it might not be by the next show.
Did they ask you before they put you on as a stretch goal?
Yes.
Okay,
they did,
good.
But no one spoke to me since they funded. So we shall see if that is going to become a project as well. Those are my main sort of focuses at this juncture, because honestly, I see Wamptham and Greyhawk as a kind of a passion project for me right now. I want that to be, honestly, my main focus each quarter is drawing a Greyhawk thing. I'm not doing commissions outside of that.
Cool. Yep.
Wow. That's pretty amazing.
And what about you, Anna? You've got like nothing going on, right?
No, I have nothing, and nothing Greyhawk related going on at all. Nothing. No, you just saw. I just ended it. I made a concept map, so now it's done. I don't need to do anymore. No. Well, yeah, there's a bunch going on. The big thing ticket item next week will be to wrap up the 2022 576 Atlas. And because I got Dwayne Costa have helped immensely, and he done all the index. So now I just need to create those kind of pretty version that you can actually look at that looks really cool, because he gave me all the Excel spreadsheet data and stuff. So I'm going to take that into Illustrator or InDesign, or we'll see which technique, and then make these kind of cool index stuff, and then put it all together and then publish the end of it. So that is going to hopefully be done next week. So the 576 2022 Atlas could be a wrap up. That will be wonderful, because then I can say, okay, that is now done, and I can put that in. And that means that it's time to dig deep into the 598 map, so to speak. It's been a little bit lagging behind, because there were more research and stuff that I wanted. It's always that way with projects and stuff. So then that will be the main item going in July, and so all of July, the summer, will basically make sure that get that out the door, so to speak. And then in the meantime, slogging on with the Altamira project, because the Altamira project moves in from concepting to actually grind things through. So that means that I will grind a couple hours a day on Altamira, and then I will alternate and grind on the 598 map, so to speak. So that will basically be most of my summer. And then as a kind of a little bit of a side things to spice things up, I will do heraldry to sprinkle in. So there is more Death Knight heraldry, and there is also the last 100 or so of the original that needs to be done. So I also expect that to be done in the next month or so. And so once that is done, like mid to let's say August or something like that, then it's time to look into launching a new Patreon tier for people who want a customized version of the map. And then there is some other cool things to launch this fall, and that is the Earth version 2.0. And a bunch. So there will be some technical deep dives into the next generation of Earth maps. That's another one that will sprinkle in the summer, when I'm sitting working on these big things that will not be done until 2-3 months from now. So then I will look into some, so there will be, for top tier patrons, there will be some deep dives into how I will tackle mapping the planet. I have some ideas, some concepts and stuff that everyone who wants to map a fantasy planet can see. And these are concept and ideas. And then what I will do some test areas and see if the initial concept and ideas of workflow might not work out. So I'm going to present the idea, and then I'm going to test run it, and then I'm going to present the results and say, did it work or not, so to speak. And so it's by try and fail. And I will also try to now see if I can get my streaming started again a bit. And that means that next week, when Jay is not here, I will try my best and to fill the gap a little bit, and sit and doodle in something for a few hours to come on, so to speak. So yeah, so those are the plans. And my own campaign will continue to run, and they are now into interesting deep history and stuff. So in the Dragonhide caves, and there will be write-ups coming sprinkled out throughout the year for my mid-tier patrons from stuff. There will be, I started with Igville, there will be things on Warduke, there will be things from various Iusian factions and stuff. There will be places that are on this concept map in this area that will be explained in detail, and there will be some more dungeon maps and stuff like that. So a whole bunch of them, in fact.
this channel will be in hiatus for a week. So
yeah, so I'll doodle on my Twitch
whether it's
channel,
Twitch or YouTube, one of the two. You may.
Yeah, I'll try Twitch and see if
Mhm.
it works, so to
Good.
speak. Yeah, there will be some tests. If it doesn't work out with the resolutions or whatever, then I have to revert back to YouTube. But I hope to be able to start doing it on stream. But I realize I will not be a huge Twitch streamer. That's not really my nature. So yeah.
Well, I appreciate that. So I will not be back. Odds are I'll be doing the Gabbin Sunday night on the 26th of June, because I'll be back that weekend. That'll probably be the next stream after tonight. So 8 days off. You guys and gals will all survive, right? So I hope so. Family vacation going away starting this weekend, and we're gonna have some nice time. So I have no announcements for any. I have nothing set. I have no special Saturday night specials. I have no special guests up yet. I'll be working on some of that, but I do have this. That's one thing we need to discuss. That is signups are. It's right around the corner, everyone. It's just that. It's just her name, Anna_B_Meyer, just like her Twitch name. It's the same.
Yep.
Yeah, she's in the Grail Creatives. She's in the Grail Creatives stream team too. You can find her there. You can find her there too. All right, so please get your thoughts in. You can start registering. Everyone can register June 30th, and you can start putting events in on June 30th. That's coming up. 2 weeks. Less than 2 weeks. Still working out streamers. I have less than I had thought that have committed right now, and I know everyone's busy, but I have only gotten commitments from. I got some good commitments. Blue Box, Troller Games is going to have a lot of content. Myself, Carlos has committed, and Guild Superior, and I think that is it right now. Phoenixy, if you're in, man, let me know. You know, if you're gonna. I know you said you wanted to collaborate, so that would be good if you want to do something too. We want to run 24-hour coverage for that Friday, Saturday, and Sunday of that weekend. So we want to, with open signups too. We want open signups in all games, even the ones that are streamed. So, all right, good. I can write you down then. That's a good thing, man. So there we go. We got another one in, which is awesome. So that's all I have, and I won't bore you anything else with, other than knowing that you will. My guess is within the next 2 months, we will. Maybe I should speak for Steven Chenault. We will have our front cover artwork done for Altimeter. Yeah, I think so. Yep. That's in the phase already, and it's going to be cool. It's not going to be a city setting picture or anything like that. It's going to be action. It's going to be an action scene. So we got the ideas, and everyone was in agreement that it was a good idea. So with some custom things from the campaign. So we're looking forward to that. You know, with our own spin on it. But other than
a kumquat tree in the background.
Yes, I completely forgot about it. We got to put the kumquat grows in some. We need to have the kumquat grows there,
yes,
Anna.
Exactly.
I mean, Altimeter was founded right there where their kumquat grows, so we need to put that all in. So yeah, definitely. But appreciate all the support. Be back within a week, and just lots of great stuff going on, and we'll get some. We'll continue with the great Saturday night specials and talk shows, and getting some really cool guests on coming up. So, well, thank you. Last call. Frog God Games, our wonderful sponsor of the Fantasy Mapping Show, has provided us 2 $25 gift certificates to their store. Yeah, this is the first time my son's ever going to be on a plane. He's 12, and it's first time flying. Yeah. So, and it'll be a good time. So last call for signups, and then I'll close it out. Pick 2 winners. As long as you're on the claim, I will send them over pretty quickly. Within the next hour, I'll send the codes over for them for Frog God Game Store. So I'm closing this out. Let's do that. Here we go. Oh, dude. Try now. I'll give GD. Try now. I'll give you 15 seconds that you hit it late. There's Canadian got in. I reopened it. 10 more seconds, and I'm closing it. 9, 8, 7, 6. Get in. Cool, man. Closing it out. Here's the winner. Asher the Bear.
Congratulations.
And Lexfire, George. Asher the Bear
Awesome.
And George Lexfire. I think they're
2
probably
great
both
members
on.
of the community.
Sure is
Fantastic.
on. Oh no, is George on? He is.
Uh-oh.
They're both on. He's in
Okay,
VIP.
good.
He's in VIP.
Yeah, I was going to
They're
say,
both
George,
on.
you need
George,
to be on. Yeah.
they're both on.
Yeah.
All righty. So I will get them their codes. Thank you all. Alyssa, Anna, thank you for another great show. And always, it's always fixed, isn't it? It's fixed. So yeah, he's on. He's on. I got him. See you all in 8 days, and we'll for Gavin 201. And please, it's not like I'm going away. My phone's on. I'll have my iPad. I'll still be talking. I got a lot of stuff I got to get.
Your phone is on, so you want people to call you?
No, I don't want people to call me. They can text me or whatever, or I'll be checking Facebook, and I'll be. So just note one last thing. There's a. I'm not going to go into all the BS that happened last week on Twitter and on the community. It wasn't our community. That's why I really am thankful for our community, how things are going very well and continuing to grow, and that's a wonderful thing. Let's just all keep it up and keep on doing the right thing. Yeah, you call me hourly Balfriend, I'm going to have an accidental ammo explosion next time you play BattleTech in your mech for the first 10 seconds. How's that sound? So
sounds appropriate.
Yeah, it sounds absolutely appropriate. So we'll raid into Mandy. Mandy's on and a fellow Greyhawk community streamer and plays in the Slav Squad. She's got her normal front end game going, so we'll raid into her. All right, we'll see everyone soon. I hope you have a great night and keep on playing D&D. And thank you, Greyhawk community. Talk to you soon.
Awesome.